Thank you so much for coming to our first session of Shattering Misconceptions of 2019-2020. It's very exciting. I hope and I expect that by next year, God willing, this room will not suffice. We're going to need that room also. And that's a good thing. So keep coming, keep bringing your friends. Thank you. Now, the topic of today's shiur is, it's a fun one, very lighthearted. It's called The Little Things That Kill You. The little things that are killing you. I'll try to be a little less depressing than usual because we have so many new people, so I don't want to scare them away quite just yet. I want to begin by reading you a piece from the Talmud in Tractate Brachot. It's the very, very first book of the Talmud. And the Tractate Brachot, it says as follows. It says, Imra Adam she'yisurin ba'in alav. If a person sees that Yisurin is like tsaris. Tsaris, troubles. Who doesn't have tsaris? Nobody doesn't have tsaris. Everybody has tsaris. Everybody you know and everybody you don't know has one thing in common. Tsaris. Everybody's got them. So if you see that tsaris are happening to you, what should you do? Talmud says, no problem. Yifashfesh b'masav. You should look into your actions. You should check your actions. Because, maybe the reason that you're having tsaris is you didn't put your tefillin on tight enough. That can happen. Sometimes when you're rapping, you're a little lazy, maybe you don't pull tight. Maybe if you did that, then you wouldn't have gotten fired. Just saying, right? So you should do that. Or maybe you should check your mezuzahs. God forbid, something bad happens, you were walking in with the groceries, the bags all exploded and the eggs went everywhere. What should you do? Check your mezuzahs. Maybe you're not praying hard enough. Maybe you're not keeping Shabbat with the right gusto. Maybe you're not singing the right zemirot. Maybe that's what's happening. Yifashfesh b'ma'asav. And Talmud continues and says, well, what happens? Pishpesh v'lo matzah. You checked your actions and you couldn't find anything wrong. You're like, I pulled the tefillin really tight and my mezuzahs are totally mehudar. I went to Aspaklaria and I ordered the $85,000 mezuzah scroll that was blessed by a dead rabbi. We exhumed him. It was great. Right? There's nothing. I'm just not missing anything in my life. What do you do then? Talmud's like, don't worry. Yitlena bebitul Torah. Then you should probably assume that you're not learning enough Torah. Right? Because how religious can you get? Obviously, if there's a problem in your life, it's because you're not learning enough Torah. Of course. Classic. Then the Talmud says, but what happens if you are learning a lot of Torah? You're learning Torah all the time. You're going to the mom class at Hillel. It can't be the Bittul Torah. So I was like, well, then it's, Yisur and Shalahava. Then God loves you so much, so he's sending tsaras your way. Now, we're not going to discuss that today. This is not going to be a class about why bad things happen to good people. We're just going to say the famous two words. The second word is happens. You know what the first word is? We'll talk about that some other time. But for right now, we're going to deal with the first two. The first two being, if you've got tsaras, check your actions. If you checked and all's good, Bittul Torah. Then you need to go to more classes. Okay, we're going to attack that. We're going to attack that. Again, it's what you would expect from a religion. Right? Of course, everything is about religion when you're religious. So I understand that. A second thing that I think doesn't make that much sense is a very famous Talmud. You may have heard it. You may have heard this Talmudic excerpt before. We are told, our rabbis say, that Avraham Avinu kept the whole Torah. Do you know that? You ever heard that? Avraham Avinu kept the entire Torah. Now, there's only one problem with that concept. What's the one problem with that concept? Exactly, Torah wasn't given yet. The Torah was given 500 years after him. Literally 500 years. So what do you mean he kept the Torah? And by the way, it says he didn't only keep the Torah, he even kept the rabbinic decrees. Even the rabbinic decrees he kept. Wow, that's very impressive. So how did he do it? Oh, because Abraham was so holy, he was so holy, so God told it to him before. Well, if God told it to him before, then he did get the Torah. So that doesn't work. Oh, he figured it out on his own. He figured it out on his own. Isn't the Torah filled with things that you're told that humans can't figure out on their own? Isn't that what a chok means? You can't figure it out on your own? So how can you tell me at the very same time, from both sides of your mouth, that Avraham, who lives 500 years before the Torah is given, keeps the entirety of the Torah and the rabbinic decrees? It's a little strange that he's able to figure this out. Another thing which super interesting. You know you can't keep biblical law and rabbinic law simultaneously. It's not possible. It's actually not possible because they're contradictory. Here's what I mean. In the Torah it says, by the way, if you give birth here, free tuition forever. Yeah. I'm kidding. We charge you double. So, you know, on Rosh Hashanah is coming up. On Rosh Hashanah, we blow the horn. We blow the shofar. Because what would a good holiday be if you're not blowing a horn? Well, you know, if Rosh Hashanah falls out on a Saturday, you don't blow the horn. Did you know that? We don't blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah if Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos. You know what the small problem with that is? The Torah doesn't say that. You know what the Torah says? Torah says, Rosh Hashanah, blow the horn. So why don't you blow the horn if it falls out on Shabbos? Because the rabbis, 1,000 years later, more, the rabbis were like, we got a problem. Because everybody loves Rosh Hashanah. Like even people who don't do a lot of Jewish stuff, they do Rosh Hashanah. Everybody likes apples and honey. Everybody likes cantors and rabbis that talk way too much. So they're going to go for Rosh Hashanah. So they're going to take their shofar and they want to learn how to blow it. Because you've never blown a shofar before, right? Of course not. By the way, I hadn't either. I learned in University of Miami because there was no one else to blow the shofar, so I had to learn how to blow a shofar. Other than that, why would I ever touch that thing? It's disgusting. So those are inside thoughts, not outside thoughts. So if you take the shofar on Shabbat, you're allowed to blow it, but what happens if you want to go learn and you end up crossing I-95 so that you can go to the rabbi to teach you how to blow a shofar? Well, now you just broke Shabbat. So the rabbis are like, you know what? Lay off the shofar on Shabbat. We're just not going to do shofar if Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, which, by the way, it does all the time. So we blow shofar on the second day, not the first day. That's rabbinic, not biblical. According to the Torah, you would blow it on Saturday. Let me ask you a question. You just told me that Abraham did all of the biblical laws and all the rabbinic laws. So if Rosh Hashanah fell out on a Saturday, did he blow the horn or did he not blow the horn? Got ya. Yeah? Can't be. Very strange. Okay, and yet, I have 3 different Gemaras here. I'm only going to read you 2. One of them I put on the shelf because I didn't have any more room on the podium. But I have 3 Gemaras from different tractates that tell you that Abraham did all the Torah. Here's one from Kiddushin, page 82a. It says, Matzinu, we found, She'asa Avram Avinu as kol ha-Torah kula ad shelo nitna. We found that Avram did the entire Torah before it was given. Shenamar, we cite a verse. The Talmud is always about citing verse, which I admit sounds a little boring until you know what that means. It's like, well, because it says in the verse, Ekev asher shama Avraham b'koli vayishmor mishmarti mitzvotaychu kotai v'torotai. God says that Avram did all of my Torahs, even though Torah wouldn't be given, as we said, for over 500 years. That's one. Another one here is from the Dharam, just for good measure. This is really funny. You're going to like this one. That's why you have to read this one. This one says, V'yam Rav Ami bar Abba, Rabbi Ami bar Abba says as follows, Ben Shalosh Shanim Heker Avram Esboro. Avram found God at the age of 3. Really? At the age of 3? How do you know that? Were you there? Did you know that Avram grew up pagan? He grew up pagan. You know what percentage of the world was pagan when Avram was walking the earth? 100%. 100% of the world was pagan. So Avram grew up worshiping the monkey god, the fish god, the rock god, whatever totems they happened to listen. So there's an argument in the Talmud. How old was Avram when he figured out that there's actually Allah and not monkey god? How old was he? So this rabbi is he was 3. How do you know he was 3? Oh, well, because it says in the verse that we just read that says that Avram did the whole Torah, Ekev asher shama Avraham b'koli, since Avram listened to my voice. And you know what the numerology of the first word is? You're going to love this. It's amazing. I don't have a board marker, so I can't write this, but it doesn't matter because it's not a complex thing. If you take the numerology, the gematria of the first word, it comes out to 3 less than his whole life. So you see that he must have listened for all the years except for the first 3. Wah, wah. Is that indicative to you? I don't know. That doesn't sound very compelling to me. That seems really, really strange. But apparently, hey man, that's what it says, so it's got to be true. Now, let's take a look at the book. Not just the Talmud, but let's go to the book. The original, the source, my favorite book in the whole world. Harry Potter second. Right now we find ourselves in between the portions of Akev and Re'eh. And last week on Shabbat, we read as follows, It will be, if you listen to the laws that I give you, classic religious spiel. This is what you've come to expect from religions, right? If you listen to me, I give you good things, and if you don't listen to me, I give you bad things. Okay, that's all religions, that's not just us, right? That's everybody. Blow up lots and lots of bad people, you get virgins, right? You renounce all of your worldly possessions, and you go to heaven and you sit in a really nice place, right? This is a typical religion. And if you don't, burn in hell forever. Yeah, we're used to this. We're not the only ones, right? Like everybody's come up with this. Jews are not original when it comes to that sort of thing. So it says, if you listen, then this, and if you don't listen, then that. Wonderful. And how do you say if? How do you say if in Hebrew? Im, exactly, beautiful. That's the good thing of having Israelis. Yeah, if. They also make very good hummus. Yes. And very good children. I married one. It's true. Amazing. But we'll talk about Israelis some other time. So, im means if. Here's the thing though, that word doesn't say im. What does that word say? It says v'haya akev. Akev tishme'un. Akev tishme'un? What does akev mean? Well, I mean, it's got to be if, because like ArtScroll says if. So it's if. There's an easier word for if. Im. Y'all knew that one. What does akev mean? Yeah. Heal. Akev means heal. Not if. That's the wrong word. The Torah should have said, V'haya im tishme'un. It will be if you listen. Which, by the way, in the same portion, it does. And you're all familiar with it. Because you say the Shema. The Shema has 3 paragraphs. The first one is V'ahavta. Right? V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha. You must love Hashem with all your heart and all your soul, blah, blah, blah. The second is V'haya im shamoa. What do you think V'haya im shamoa means? V'haya, it will be im if shamoa, you listen. It will be if you listen, you get the good stuff, and if you don't listen, you get the bad stuff. You know what it doesn't say? Akev. It says im. So why would you begin the parsha by being like, it will be if you listen and you use the word if really means heal? Heal? Why would the Torah have the same word for if and heal? I think you'll admit that's bizarre. Yeah? Tell me something. Raise your hand if you don't speak Spanish. Awesome. It's like, yeah, wow, hey, we're getting, the Americans are making a comeback. Yeah? Tell me something. In Spanish, is the word for if and heal the same? No. And it's not in French either, and it's not in German either. By the way, I don't speak French or German, but I know that it's not the same. Why do I know? Because why would it be the same? Like, why would the word for heal and the word for if be the same? That's absurd. So I can assume that these languages are not absurd because I've met some French people. They seem perfectly reasonable. I tend to avoid the Germans because of, we have ancestral issues. But so that's strange. So why would the word for if and the word for heal be the same? I'll tell you. Here's the thing. You walk funny. Yeah, you walk funny. And you all walk funny. You all walk funny. I also walk funny. How do I know y'all walk funny? Because we have heel technology. And what heel technology enables you to do, step on your heel first and your toes second. And that's how humans walk. Heel, foot, heel, foot, heel, foot. You know what's funny though? That's not how humans used to walk until recently. I say recently, it's been about 400 years. Why? Because they didn't have heel technology. So a shoe was a glorified leather sock. So you know how humans walk historically? Like this. Foot first, heel second. Why would they do that? It makes so much sense. You understand, humans are really very well designed. We destroy everything, but we are epically well designed. The front of your foot is very sensitive. The heel of your foot is not. So first you put down the front of your foot and you feel to see if there are pointy things that would hurt you. And then if there aren't, you put your weight down. Then you step. When did this change? With technology. Do you watch the Olympics? Nah, I don't either. You know the West Africans are dominating everybody when it comes to running. Are you aware of this? They're just blowing everybody out of the water. You know they don't run like you, right? But you think they're just faster? They're faster than you? Why are they faster than you? Because they run correctly and you don't. How do they run? Foot, heel, foot, heel, foot, heel, not heel, foot. You run heel, foot. You're slow. You're slow. They don't run like that, man. Eritrea, when you're running away from like a jaguar, you run fast. They run correctly. Foot, heel. Oh, but if that's the case, then we understand. Why in Hebrew the word for if and the word for heel are the same. And we'll see that they're not precisely the same. They're subtly different. And in that subtlety lies the answer to our question and the answer to our problems. Heel, you put down the front of your foot and you feel around to decide whether or not it's safe to step, and then you step. That means that the heel, whatever your heel lands on, has already been decided by the front of your foot. So it's almost like saying, ready for this, because it still survives in the English, on the heels of. What does on the heels of mean? As a consequence of. On the heels of this. Right after it dragged it along. That's what heels mean. Why do heels mean that? Because wherever your heel steps was not a decision that the heel's making. That decision has been made. And the heel comes down as a fait accompli from the toes. So when you say that akev, heel, means if, it doesn't precisely mean if. What it really means is as a natural consequence of. As a natural consequence of. Means if then, not just if. If is im. Consequence, akev. What would be the difference? Simple. What's that? Totally different. Exactly. They're not remotely the same. If you say to your kid, listen, if you go to sleep on time, I'll take you to Disney World. That's a deal. That's a deal that we make. You do this, I'll do this. Is there any connection between sleeping on time and Disney inherently? No. No. They live in different planes of existence. But I'm very fed up. I'm so frustrated that I'm willing to spend $1,000 if you would just freaking go to sleep. Okay? So I will pay you to leave me alone! That was a little too intense. I'm sorry. You do this, I'll do this. That's a deal. That's an if. But if I say to you, if you stick your finger in a blender, then the blender will hurt you. Is it because it's a consequence? It's like, you're punished? You're punished if you stick your fingers in a blender, the blender will punish you? Is that what's happening? No. No. That's a direct result of sticking your hands into flying blades. That's not a consequence. It's not a punishment. Not a punishment. That's akev. That's what akev means. Akev means as a direct result of the actions that you take, this will happen. It's not if. It's not if. It's as a direct consequence. Well, if that's true, and I suspect that it is, I think that all of our questions are going to go away. First, I want to ask you, I forgot to ask you Max's question. I love this. Last week, I went out with one of our alumni. Greatest guy in the world. In fact, I'm going to quote him. He asked a great question. I'm going to quote him, Max Pacher. So Max says to me, he's like, listen, Rabs, I know Torah, blah, 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 blah. You guys are into it, fine, whatever. It's like, how do you know? Let's see this question. Such a great question. Such a great question. He goes, how do you know that you're doing it right? How do you know? So you're learning the Torah, and you're like, the Torah told me that I have to do this. But you say that God gave the Torah. So what if you don't understand it? What if you're misunderstanding it? How will you ever know that you're doing it correctly? Isn't that a great question? That's such a great question. Huh? Hillel alumnus. Yeah? It's a great question. You know what the answer is? In one word? Akev. Akev is the answer to the question. Here's why. Have you ever heard of the invisible hand of the economy? The invisible hand of the economy. What does invisible hand mean? The invisible hand essentially means that it's impossible to qualify, quantify, and process all of the various inputs into an economy. It's impossible. Goldman Sachs pays big bucks to get the greatest analysts in the world. They do. They do. That's fine. But they can't possibly take into account your child's lemonade stand. And they don't know how the tsunami in Asia is going to affect the economy. You just don't know. There are so many invisible forces that are putting input into this emergent reality that it's called the invisible hand of the economy. So like you hear that and you're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense that the sum total of all of this input is going to be something that we could not have totally forecast beforehand. Fine, I'm good with that. Do you think that's an economic thing? You think that's an economic thing? Or do you think it's also an economic thing? Yeah, it's also an economic thing. The saddest thing in the world is that you only hear that phrase when it comes to the economy. Because everything else is so obvious. Everything else is so clear. Only the economy is the invisible hand. Let me ask you a question. We look in this country. It's so funny. You know why we're in the pits? I'll tell you why we're in the pits. Because we're morons. We're the most reactive country on the planet Earth. We're totally reactive. We never look at why something happened. It happened. Fix it. Fix it. Take this away. Take that away. Make them do this. Yeah, it's reactive. Let me ask you, do you believe that poverty has nothing to do with education? Do you believe that? Nobody believes that. Nobody believes that. What, are you telling me that there aren't people who are uneducated that became very, very wealthy? No, they exist. Of course they exist. But that's one person, right? That's not a trend. The plural of anecdote is not data. The fact that you can find me 5 people who are high school dropouts who are now billionaires doesn't mean that there's no correlation between education and riches, or flip side, poverty. Of course there is. Are you telling me that there's no connection between poverty and crime? Really? None? None? They're not connected at all? They're not connected at all? Maybe they're a little connected, right? Are you telling me that there's no connection between crime and family? Do you think for 1 second, like literally, does it occur to you for a second that if you have families that are broken, does it occur to you that that won't spike your crime rate? Are you crazy? Of course that'll spike your crime rate. It's like Freakonomics 101. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. You know what the Torah calls that? Akev. Akev. All of your problems in your society, and we'll get to you personally, yeah, they're your problems. Because you made a decision, and then you stepped on something. You stepped on the economy. You stepped on the war effort. You stepped on poverty. You stepped on healthcare. You stepped on immigration. You stepped on social justice. That's the problem. That's the problem. The society is also an invisible hand. And it's a result of the inputs that you put in every single day. Now, not only you and me, and everybody else. If then, it's just Akev. Well, if that's true, you know what Jews don't believe? You know what we don't believe? We don't believe that it's an accident that your society sucks. It's not an accident. It's your fault. Totally your fault. It's all you. So who's supposed to fix it? You. You can fix it. But here's what's so cool. It answers Max's question. We're going to see Torah is very, very different than the other religious books. You're about to see. It's going to be a lot of fun. See, Max asked, said, Sprung, how do you know you're understanding the Torah? Maybe you're misunderstanding the Torah. Yeah, great question. What is the Torah saying? Torah says, if Akev, as a consequence of doing everything perfectly, what will you get? Perfection. You will have a perfect society. And you can read in the book what it promises you. It says, you will have no one barren, no one will miscarry, no one will be poor, no one will get sick, no one will go to war. Like it says these things. You're like, oh, come on, that's crazy. That's crazy. Fine. I'm not interested right now in our opinions of the Torah and is it true or isn't it true. That's not the point. Let's try to understand what the book is actually saying. The book is saying to you that if you have perfect input, what will you get? Perfect output. Well, what does that tell you? That tells you that if something is not perfect, you can figure out why it's not perfect. What a gift. You see, if it's an if-then relationship, if it's a punishment and reward relationship, then how do I know why I have diabetes? How would I know? Maybe it's a punishment for not wrapping my tefillin hard enough. How would I know? I have no way of knowing. But if everything is a direct reaction to what you're doing, then if you have a problem of any sort, the problem is not the problem. The problem are the clues. Hey, Kev. The problem are the clues. You can look at your problems, and by looking at your problems carefully, you know what you can do? Fix them. You can fix them. Which means that the world, this is so cool, it means that the world operates in such a way that your actions have identifiable consequences. We don't like think that way in the Western mind. We think that physics, that you can see, that you can notice. But like, morality, that doesn't have any effect on anything. I mean, obviously, if I take my phone and I drop it, then gravity works 10 times out of 10. It's going to fall, it's going to smash. I know that. I know it's going to smash. But if I'm mean to my sister, that doesn't mean that I'm going to have a good marriage or a bad marriage. I could be mean to my sister and have a good marriage, and I could be mean to my sister and have a terrible marriage. That's not what the Torah is saying. The Torah is saying, oh, you think physics is limited to like gravity and electromagnetism? No. Your actions, your thoughts, your speech, they are just as much input as the physics are. And they work perfectly and aligned with everything else. So if you've got a problem, look at your problem. Let's go back to what we said in the very, very beginning of the class. We said that this is a strange Talmud, and it says, well, if you see that you got tsaros, yafash feish b'maisav, you should look at your actions. And we said, what does that probably mean? It means maybe you're not religious enough. Maybe your mezuzah is not kosher enough. Maybe you're not praying enough. Maybe you're not coming to shul on time. That's not what it's saying at all. That's totally not what it's saying. It's saying, oh, you got problems? How did your actions cause these problems? How did what you did, what you said, what you didn't do cause this problem? Well, what's the second thing? It says, what happens if you looked at your actions and you cannot identify how your actions caused these problems? Because that's real. You look at your actions, you're like, I don't know. So what was the second thing? Who remembers? What do you do if checking your actions didn't work? Study Torah. You should assume that your problems are caused by bittul Torah, which means not learning enough Torah. Why? I thought we weren't looking at this whole thing like a religion. Yeah, exactly. What's the reason that you don't see why your actions are connected? Because you don't know enough. You don't understand enough. So you have tsaros, and you know that you caused them, and you're looking at your actions, and you can't figure out how your actions created these tsaros. Go study more. Study, learn, understand, open your mind. It'll come to you. And it says, well, I did that too. I learned, I understood, and still I don't see how I'm causing my problems. We're like, yeah, that happens too. That happens too. That's why bad things happen to good people. There are some times that you didn't cause it. Like there are kids who are born with diseases. They didn't do anything wrong. Okay? Obviously. Of course. So yeah, that happens too. That happens too. And don't think for a second that it doesn't in this crazy world. We should have a class about that this year maybe. Oh, okay, we'll do that. That'll be fun. That'll be a different class. But in general, the first two things are not two things. They're one thing. They're one thing. Check your actions. If you check your actions and you couldn't figure it out, assume that it was your actions and you didn't understand enough. Oh. And what do we call that? We call it akev. We call that your heel. Now, we mentioned, the whole thing's about to click. We said that Abraham did the whole Torah without the benefit of the book. And was like, that's a little strange that he'd be able to do that. And we read the verse. We read the sentence in the Torah that the Talmud uses to say that this is true. I'm going to read it again, except this time, I'm going to say it slowly. God comes to Yitzchak and says, I am going to give you and your children this land. Why? Ekev asher shama Avraham bekoli. Ekev, there's that word again. As a consequence of Avraham listening to me and doing my Torah. Ekev. You think that this is a coincidence that the first time in the Torah that the word Ekev is used to mean if is referring to the exact same thing? Ain't no coincidence. Meaning, how did Avraham understand the Torah without the benefit of actually having the scroll? Well, 1 second. We just said that all the way, again, 1,000 years, 500 years later, Deuteronomy, 500 years later in Deuteronomy, Moshe looks at the people and says, hey guys, Ekev, you listen, you'll get this, and Ekev, you don't listen, you'll get that. And we said this has nothing to do with religion whatsoever. This is physics. This is physics. That's why he uses the term Ekev and not Im. But 1 second, was physics different for Avraham than it is for you? No, it's the same. So how did Avraham figure out the whole Torah? What do you think the Torah is? What do you think it is? You think the Torah is some kind of book that says like, you have to do this, and you have to do this, and you have to do this, and don't go there, and don't say that, and don't eat that, and don't go out with her, and don't say this to him? Do you think that that's what it is? A big checklist of do's and don'ts, right? That's what the Torah is? No. Absolutely not. That's putrid. The Torah is the guide, that's what the word means, to the world. It's the guide to the world. It's the cheat sheet. That's what it is. Meaning if you took this physical universe and you broke it down into mathematics, which of course you could do, right? You could do things on different media. So you can experience something visually, you can experience it mathematically, you can experience it auditorily, and it will be the same pattern, just manifesting in different ways. If you were to take the world and zip it down to words, do you know what it would look like? The Torah. That's what the Torah claims to be. Again, is it not, is it a lie? That's not what we're talking about today. But that's what the Torah claims to be. So that means, do you know what you need? Do you know what you need to do in order to live perfectly in this world? You really only need to do one thing. But it's hard to do. And that one thing is, see the world for what it is. If you saw the world for exactly what it is, and you weren't, messed up in the brain and seeing things through your own lenses all the time, if you saw the world for what it was, you would know exactly what to do all the time, because it's perfectly clear. It's self-evident. I mean, not to us, because we've got our heads, who knows where, but, Ekev. Why do you think Avraham needs a scroll to know what to do? Avraham figured out that there was a God without the benefit of being taught in school that there's a God. How? Was he so holy? No. He was just looking at the world. He's like, wait a minute. If there's like the God of the sun, and there's the God of the ocean, and there's the God of the dirt, and there are three different dudes, if you're telling me that the God of the sun, and the God of the ocean, and the God of the dirt are three different dudes, then how come every time I stick a seed in the dirt, pour water on it, and stick it in the sun, it grows? Riddle me this. Avram didn't figure out God because he walked outside and felt the holiness. No! It's because he planted a coconut. And it grew. Every time. So he's like, wait a minute, there's no God of the coconut. There's no God of the fish. And there's no God of the sand. There's just one. Everything is one. When I say everything, by the way, you know what I mean? Everything. I mean your eyeball and every cloud and a black hole all came from the exact same bang. It's all the same source. That's Avram's point. Like seriously, that's his point. It's not a religious point. It's a scientific point. when Rambam talks about the grandeur, the glory of Avraham, he doesn't use the word holy, and he doesn't talk about like chesed. I know your kids in kindergarten, they all do the Avram's tent, right? Yeah, it's so nice. You have a napkin, and it's open from all four directions, and there's some popsicle sticks, and it's a beautiful thing. When Avraham was so much chesed, Rambam doesn't talk about Avram's chesed. He talks about his mind. He's like, yeah, Avram was a giant. Because he looked through, most of us were taught one thing, like that's what we do. I'm not thinking past whatever my defaults are. Abraham was looking at the defaults. He's looking at the world and he's like, no, this doesn't work. I need a new theory. That's how he figured it out. Akev. He didn't have the benefit of the book. He didn't have the benefit of the book. The book is just an unzipped universe. Sorry, the book is the zipped universe. He looked at the universe. He zipped it himself. So now, we understand Max's question. Just how do you know you're doing it right? Because if I'm not doing it right, I have tsaris. If you have tsaris, you're not doing it right. Go look. How could it be that Avraham knew what to do before the benefit of the book? Simple. Because he looked at the universe. He didn't need a book. You and I need a book. He didn't need a book. Pure consequence. Action and reaction. Now let's get fun. Because it hasn't been fun until now. So now let's start having fun. That Akev, we said by Avraham, that's not the first time that the term is used in the Torah. It's the second. You know what the first time is? You're going to love this. You're going to love this. What is it? That's after. That's Yaakov. Although, of course, that's connected, right? Because after all, what's Yaakov's name? Heal. His name means heal. You don't think that's disconnected, do you? You don't think that that's a different idea. It's the same idea, of course. What's the first time the word heal comes up in the Torah? There's something, listen, it has more to do with you than me. That I'll tell you. Think. What are all of you that I'm not? That's right, women. So, yeah? Eve. Let's go back to the garden. In the garden, there were magic trees and talking snakes. Yeah? You know this garden? You've seen that movie? In the garden, they do a very, very bad thing. We could talk about that sometime. They do a very, very bad thing. And God says, I am going to cause a fight between you and the snake. And you know what the end of that verse is? It's so beautiful. The end of that verse is, he meaning the human, will step on the head of the snake. And the snake will bite you, where? In your heel. V'hu yishufenu akev. That's the first time the word comes up in the book. The snake bites you in the heel. Let me ask you a question. Do you think snakes enjoy heels more than, say, nape of the neck? Yes, are they into heels? Oh, why would snakes be into heels? But when snakes bite you, it's not to eat. The bite, the teeth, are a delivery mechanism for the venom because they want to kill you. So they don't care if they bite you in the heel or in the bicep. So what does the Torah mean when it says they're going to bite you in the heel? Oh, you think we're actually talking about a snake? You think the snake in the garden is a snake? No, not a snake. He's a metaphor. There's no talking snakes. He's a metaphor. Here's a metaphor for? Talmud says, the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, Chet. Everything bad that happens to you, that's the snake. Where does the snake bite you? In your heel. The snake bites you in your heel. Why does he bite you in your heel? Because, you guys are smart. High-powered people. We come from a community super effective, super successful. Thank God. We're so blessed. Why are we so good at these things? Because we think about them. You don't leave things to chance. We make sure that our kids get excellent education so they can go to excellent colleges, they can marry excellent people, so they have excellent homes. Right? It's not an accident. Why do you have excellent businesses? Because I watch the dollars, and I make sure that the P&L sheets are working, and I make sure that my ROI is coming in the way it's supposed to be. You don't leave it to chance. So where do you get bitten? In the heel. You get bitten in the thing you didn't think of. You made a decision, and you stepped down, and now you're in it. You get bitten in your heel, always. The Yetzer Hara bites you in the heel. Can I trouble you, please? Thank you so much. Now, that means, like we said before, on a societal level, healthcare, Social Security, immigration, all of those problems, make no mistake, God didn't send them at you, okay? There are problems. There are problems. And we totally have the ability, thank you so much, and we totally have the ability to fix them. But I want to talk personally to you for about a moment. No, neither got bitten. It was God saying that this is going to be the future of humanity. So, I would like to give you examples of how you can see this in your own life. Your own life. That your problems are your own, and you're getting bitten in the heel. Bear with me. Might not be that pleasant. So, some examples. I'll give you a few. You know, you hear Jews talking all the time, about intermarriage. This, I'm telling you, Jews in this country, in Europe, in Israel, they are so much more afraid of intermarriage than they are of white supremacy or Antifa or Palestinian terrorists or Iran, right? They are not as afraid as an Iranian nuclear bomb as they are of the non-Jew in your kid's chemistry class at University of Miami, okay? That's a fact, and you know it, okay? And you know it. Everybody knows that that's true. Whether that happens to be true for you specifically or not is irrelevant. You know that this is nationally true. Okay, let me ask you a question. How many people do you think there are that as a value in their home, a value, you don't intermarry? Not in this house. Many. And I'm not counting conversion, because converted Jew is a Jew. How many? Many. What if you would go to those same people that say, our values? Absolutely not. You're out of the will, you know, blah, 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 blah. How many of those people, if you say to them, yeah, but like when the kid's in college, is it okay if you like interdates? Like, is that cool? They're like, yeah, obviously. I mean, that's cool. It's practice, you know, like wink, wink, right? Wink, wink, that's practice. That's not big, that doesn't bother me. Don't bring her home for Thanksgiving. But like, if you want to do whatever with whomever, like that's fine, you know. But there's some people like, no, no dating. What about hookups? What about Tinder? That's not even a thing. That's like I'm visiting my friend in Utah, and he's not going to be here for 4 hours. So like, I'm bored and there's nothing cool to watch. So I go on my Tinder and I swipe right and there's someone across the street. I don't care if he or she is Jewish. It doesn't make a difference to me. We're gonna you know, do whatever we do for an hour and a half at best. And then we're done. Right? I'll never see her again. Right? So how many people do you think, how many of the same people that will be like, our values, no way, will be like, yeah, but that's fine. Obviously, that's not a problem. The answer is so many. Akev. Do you know what percentage of people who intermarried interdated? 100. Do you know what percentage now of people who interdate, interhook up? 100. So how are we looking at it? In our communities, how do we look at it? We say we have a value. We have values in this home, and our values state, thou shalt not marry a Buddhist. Okay. How good are your values when I'm in love with a Buddhist? Yeah, exactly. Worthless. It's not about values. It's about actions. You know how I know this is true? Because I need to lose 20 pounds. That's how I know it's true. Because my values don't matter when I can smell the bagel. The values go out the door. Nobody cares about your flipping values. The chocolate is so good. Those are values. Actions. That's why I tell you all the time. Can't buy that. You can't buy that. It's like, why can't I buy that? You don't have to eat it. See, I don't know if you all know my wife. She looks fantastic. She can eat a Cinnabon. I eat Cinnabon. Doesn't look so good on me. Okay? Doesn't look so good on me. So I say, you can't buy that. She goes, why not? I'll eat it. You won't. Right, because I will. What do you mean if it's in the house? If it's in the house, it's mine. if it's not nailed to the floor, I'm going to eat it. And by the way, I never eat just one of anything. Ever. In my life, I've never eaten just one. Eat the whole thing. Don't bring it in the house. It's not about your values. No offense. No offense. Your values don't matter. That's not true. They do matter. Of course they matter. Your actions determine. Your actions are determinant, not your values. That's one example. I'll give you another example. Right? It's the thing that you're not seeing. You're not looking at it. You're looking at the end. No. Don't look at the end. Look at the heel. Look at the heel. It comes from the decision you already made. Here's a good one. Like, everybody wants a good marriage. Everybody wants a great marriage. Who doesn't want a great marriage? When's the last time you went over to someone, you went over to your friend, you're like, would you love to have a wonderful marriage? No. I would like to have a terrible marriage. I would like to have a terrible marriage where I hate my wife. That's what I'm looking for. No, ma pitam. Obviously, you want a great marriage. Of course I want a great marriage. So you're going to love each other? Of course. Of course. What do you mean? Of course I'm going to love her. Obviously I'm going to love her. How are you going to do that? What do you mean, how am I going to do that? We decided that we're going to have a great marriage and we love each other. You're not listening. How are you going to do that? It's not a decision. It's not a value. It's actions. What do you do to have a great marriage is the question. Not do you want to? What do you do? They say, what do you mean, what do I do? I decide I want a great marriage. Good luck. You're screwed. You have to do. You have to do. They say you're raising kids. Unbelievable. So, like, I work in a school. I don't know if you knew that. I work in a school. I hear all the time, problems. We got issues. We got to have this kind of class. We got to have that kind of class. We don't offer this math. Don't offer this language. Like real issues, you know? School wants to get better all the time. Pardon me while I chew ice while I talk to you. That's so unclassy. I'm sorry. You know what, though? It's going to be a lot worse for the people that are actually going to listen to this in their ears. It's going to be so much worse for them, so you can have that small happiness. You know what I never hear, ever? I hear problems with the lunchroom. I hear problems with the air conditioning. I hear problems with teachers. I hear all these problems. I hear all these issues. You know what I've never heard? I've been here for 8 years. By the way, I've been to other schools too. Never heard them there either. I never heard. How is my kid going to be different as a human being next year than he is now? Oh, he'll know trigonometry. Oh, he will? Yay! Oh, because obviously I sent him to the school because I want him to be able to go to a good college. Really? That's why you sent him to school? So you go to a good college? That is so 1960. That is so 1960. You don't want your kid to be an employee. You're training them to be entrepreneurs. Right? I know this. I hear things. I read things. I watch things. This is what everybody wants. You think it matters if you went to Harvard or FIU when you open up your shoe company? It doesn't matter. Of course not. Of course not. But that is not the point. How do you want the kid to be different? No one's ever asked me that question. Never heard the question before. Literally. Rabbi, my kids are not nice enough. Never heard that complaint. Why not? Why don't I hear that complaint? ACAB, because we're not looking there. We're looking at SAT scores. We're being driven by an invisible bus to an invisible place where we don't want to go. And then we get there and we wonder, how did this happen? And the answer is, look behind you. It's everything. It's everything in our lives. It's the little things that are killing you. As David HaMelech says, Avon akevai yisubeni. The sins, the mistakes of my heels surround me. What's killing me is the things that I'm not noticing. So I think what each and every one of us should do are two things. Number one, pay a lot of attention to anything in your life that's not 100%. Anything, doesn't matter how big or how small. Anything in your life that's not 100%, make it 100%. Because you can, most of the time. Not always, again, not always. But most of the time, overwhelmingly, you can, number one. Number two, bring your men to the couples class on September 11th. And have an amazing week. Much love. Oh, should we take questions? I forgot. If you have questions, I'll take your questions. No? No questions? Good. Even better. Have an amazing day. I'm going to go have a lunch learn now.